Afternoon. If you're watching this, you probably now know the news that the RHS are banning floral foam or oasis, which we traditionally use for staging flowers. So I've been asked just to do a video on staging with an alternative method. There isn't really an alternative new method. We just go back to the days, and I can go back far enough, where oasis wasn't used. It was only ever newspaper, moss, or even reeds for ponds. I think newspaper going forwards is for me the only likely alternative. It would take a lot of moss to stage a number of vases at shows when you're doing multiple classes. And we used to use it, and we've got by with it, and we've always found it quite easy to use. It's just not as quick as oasis, so you may need to plan your timing a little bit more as far as time at the show bench, and grow flowers with straighter stems, because obviously oasis did allow us to manoeuvre slightly crooked stems in different positions. So I've just got a standard show vase, couldn't find one in the same colour. A newspaper. Years ago there was a guy that used to use the Financial Times because the print didn't come off on your fingers. I'm doing this dry, and we've got a alternative flower. These are definitely small balls. It's early January and we're in lockdown now, so the alternative of going out and getting other things isn't there, and certainly no dahlia flowers. So we'll use these and see if we can make it up. I always tend to put a bit of paper in the bottom, excuse the scrunching, and don't push it down too hard because that will give you a little bit of leeway up and down as you go. I'm doing this dry because I'm doing it on the kitchen table. I'm going to use a newspaper to light the fire afterwards, so we're going dry and we should be alright. Same things apply with oasis. You're looking for flowers and stems that present themselves logically to go in the right place, and as far as heights, it's all about proportion and giving yourself enough room in the vase to do what you need to do to get the flowers sprayed out and looking good. Hopefully you'll see me disappear more for flowers as we go along. So we're just going to I've made these just with about a 2 foot stem, so we can sort of replicate what we're doing and show. That's probably going to be too high, so we're just going to take a section off. And initially you're just putting them in the vase, getting them roughly where you want them. So that's going to be the middle stem. And I always tend to do the back row before the front row, because then you can put a bit of paper in there just to support the back row first. Now amazingly with canes, this bloom to me is definitely a left hand bloom, or my left hand bloom. It's just the way the cane's bent and it goes into the stem, and those same rules apply. So I up to the vase, it's obviously going to be too high, so we're going to cut that down. And using newspaper, you tend to use a lot longer stems than you normally would using oasis, because you've got more in the vase to support the flower and the stem. This one again is a left hand bloom or right hand bloom. I'm just going to cut that down. It's better to cut twice than once and get it wrong. And just align the flowers. You can see that one's still got more to go. Cut again. I've probably done this for about 20 years and I certainly haven't done a practice, so we'll see how this goes. So they're in the vase, close enough. And we just need some paper. Normally try and cut the paper into half sheets rather than full sheets, and it gives you a little bit more to play with. But in this case it'll be 2 sheets down the front of the vase, which gives you something to bring the blooms against. So they're in there, just roughly pushed in. Obviously if the paper was wetter, it would be a bit more pliable. We'll manoeuvre this around a bit more. And then I'm just going to put a little bit in the back there, bring the back bloom forwards. Now at the moment they are probably too low on the sides, but we'll bring them up, which we can do when we put the other blooms in the front. Front blooms, these are going to need to be cut quite a bit shorter. Again, cut twice rather than once and wrong. And as you see, that will push down into the paper. And at this point we start bringing that one up. They always wobble around a bit. And it is a case that really with staging in paper you do need to get the flowers in the vase before you can really do much fine tuning. Not having the water in there does make it a little bit harder. It's probably best not to rip your fingers when you do it, but can't help myself. So I'm just going to get the first one where we want it. And I'm guessing already that I'm going to need to trim that one down a bit further. And you'll see this from, hopefully you can see it from behind, but you'll see it from the front shortly. And now I'll get plenty of paper in there to start putting some pressure and tapping it down and around. So try and go both sides, hold the stems as you go, because as you're pushing this in, you don't want to be cluttering the flowers together. I'm going to take those up a bit more. I'm probably going to take the middle one up even further. Take off. Because we've got extra length in the stems, it means we can manoeuvre them and bring them up and around without them coming out the top of the vase. That's starting to get there. The canes are wanting to slide down. And we can push the front two down further. So that's not going to be far off. Probably not the finest staging I've ever done in my life, but it's done hopefully fairly quickly. And so it gives you a little bit more adjustment when you're using water. And you've perhaps got real stems that you can play with. So I'm just going to bring that up, because they do like sliding down in the paper. Bring that one forward so we can just adjust it in there. This left down one with a hooky stem, don't want to stay put. And there we go. We turn it round. Something like what we're looking for with a vase of 5. Obviously with a vase of 3, it's the same, you're just using this pattern, so you just set the top bloom up and don't put the side ones in. That would be 3. I tend to always go 1 and 2, not 2 and 1. But that's a vase of 5, an equivalent size to a small deck, small ball, small cactus. Ideally you don't want the blooms touching at the front, which they aren't. You want to see the best parts of all of the blooms. Maybe if you've got longer stems or you want to got bigger flowers, then you need to bring them up in the vase and widen this slightly to give them more room to bring the others in front. But if you can do that sort of job with newspaper, then I'm sure the judges really won't mind looking at your flowers. So there is alternatives. I'm sure once you pick yourself up off the floor with the fear of having to use something other than Oasis, I think it's probably going to be the right thing to do. The RHS are often the first to react to these things. That being that Oasis isn't biodegradable, it still leaves residues in the ground, even the biodegradable one. And we have to look after the planet. We can't keep growing flowers if we haven't got a planet to grow them in. So it will be a bit of a pain, but I'm sure it's a pain that we can work around and adjust to. So get some practice. You might have some baubles at home or grow some early flowers, get practicing. But really for me, newspaper and a little bit of patience will get us flowers on the bench, which is what we're doing this for in the first place. Thank you.